This is Calcat, the Calcatster, and this is a review of Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 6, Whistle Speak. Yeah, birdie speak. Yeah. Yeah, a classic Star Trek episode idea. They go to a pre-warp planet in search of more clues to their technology. They have and there's like a crazy group on the planet that worships the technology like a god. Very classic Trek. Kirk did that a lot. This episode, the what do they call them? The cruise sigh or something. but yeah, yeah. So we have yeah, we have. Yeah, they go to this planet and there's like a foot race where they're low on water and they take these thirst cubes and they go on the foot race. We have Burnham and Tilly going down to the planet. Again, the captain goes down with the planet. We have Adira Tal helping with the other thing, with the space console. That they find a console later and they can get into the thing. They mention cloud seeding techniques and stuff like that. Although that would be kind of yeah, I guess they had to use some technology, but it would be modern technology. It wouldn't really be that. They mentioned a bunch of scientists on a piece of legal paper from the 21st century that the weird sort of David Lynch type of guy has, and then they cross them all off. That's how they find the planet. The planet with they mentioned the Danubulans, the bird-like people from the Star Trek thing. It would have been cool though. They should have made them look a little bit like Danubulans, and that was the reason that it put some like feathers on their hair or something. That would have been cool. That would have been like, oh, okay, because Danubulans are bird-like. Yeah, so that would be like, oh, okay, they have three genders in the bird-like. Yeah, so it's not just a kinship. They literally are Danubulan-like creatures. But they didn't need. But the three gender thing was cool. But Trill are also three gender. So in a way, that symbiote is neutral in a Trill. So we have yeah, and then they had to figure out the technology before Tilly and there's a girl, the priest, the head priest, leader guy. He tries to sacrifice the daughter in Tilly inside the space artifact, the obelisk, the summit they call it, the obelisk. It's a rain-making machine, basically. And so they're in there, and there's all the Canadian woods they get to run around in, and that's fun. The Canadian woods looks a little different than the redwoods over here in California. It's a little different. Yeah, it's more spindly and jungly looking, more like the woods that you'd see in an Arthurian kind of movie or picture or whatever. Ancient England woods kind of looking. Yeah, it'd be great for filming like a King Arthur thing. It would look awesome. If you want to do that, I'm sure they have. But yeah, so they have other set pieces and backgrounds generated by their thing. They have a wraparound screen, big wraparound screen. You can tell that it kind of is, and they're in that. And you can tell that it kind of is on the ship when they're in that too. Again, with a weird juxtaposing of faces and pictures. When they get near the end of a story, they tend to force perspective, faces, giant close-ups, and things like that. They tend to do that, and they whisper a lot. And it's not just a hearing thing; they whisper a lot. And if you're gonna whisper, like I said before, in a story, if you're going to talk softly, you don't need to whisper it. You can still enunciate and still hear it, but be talking softly. It still works. You don't need to go, I'm the captain, we're going to go over here. Just say it, but don't say it as loud. Projection. They're actors. They should know this. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, the guy playing the father looked like an old Canadian actor from somewhere, famous for. He looked really familiar. That actor that was playing the father guy, old enough to be the grandfather though, really, of that kid in the story. That kid looked a little bit like some of the cast from the church a little bit, but it wasn't. That's kind of fun, but it wasn't. And the planet, if you the lore of the planet with the technology and the space gods and their beliefs and their little experiment with their fasting and running and stuff is very similar to Jung Swan. So it is a TMS Marshall Sportiest planet that they've gone to. Yeah, that's why it's so messed up. Is that's 800 years in the future? They, in the story because it's supposed to be the 2400s, 25th century in the current Star Trek. So this is like the 32nd century. So in the 2400s, the Marshall Sportist people and the Silly Trek and Silly in space, they would be different. But 800 years, hundreds of years later, they would change quite a bit. And some of them would have called leftover planets that had to go back and tell them that this is not technology and we have to fix it or everyone dies. And then they beam in and they save everybody. They don't get. So yeah, it's a very Captain Kirk type of story. That it's funny that their medical equipment looks modern. That was kind of funny, but their boxes actually is a first aid kit. That's kind of amusing. Well, I guess the technology's still around. So, they could have suffocated in the vacuum chamber. It couldn't really have been a vacuum chamber. That's what he said. Why would it do? Yeah, that's not how that works. But whatever. Canadian story. Canadian Star Trek. We have the B stories. Dr. Culber kind of flirting a little bit with Booker. And they have, and he goes to Stamets, and Culber has his brain scanned, and discovers nothing wrong with his brain. It's a spiritual thing. He was a Q for a while there. He got killed in season 1, and returned at the end of season 2, because they brought back the gay. They didn't kill the gay. They brought back the gay as sort of a god, and then they forgot about that when they went into the 32nd century. So yeah, they sort of forgot that story arc. So yeah, he's Q-like basically at this point, because he can just do that and come back. They forgot about that. They've forgotten that part about the character. So they sort of retcon the character into having this spiritual thoughts when in fact he should just go, oh yes, I have those because he was killed once and resurrected. Sort of space Jesus type of deal, but with technology. They had technology, so from any other dimension. From the Massilian network. The Cillian network. Yes, I know it's not the Cillian realms, but it sounds similar, so that's... Anyway, but this episode was basically a TMS episode. These are descendants of possibly Tomat and his people who are on the planet. It could be descendants of them. The Nubulans helped in the 25th century. So yeah, they wanted to have their own planet and their storms and things, which would break the Prime Directive for them. But yeah, they broke the Prime Directive, but they kind of had to under the circumstances. There's ways they could have beamed them out. I was thinking of that, but they did that anyway. And Culber and the Booker have dinner on the shuttle, indicating that they're probably going to have a three-way at some point, which would be funny, but probably not. They probably won't go there. They're trying to invent their own Rule 34. Because Booker and Culber, the actors who play them, are very buffed, so they could have a beefcake interlude and make Stamets the twink. They could do that. They won't, but that would be amusing. But they won't do that. Anyway, so yeah, just kidding. A decent Star Trek episode on Discovery. Who knew? Fine. It's a TMS planet. It's Marshall Sporty's planet. Of course, I'm always going to find parallels with Cillian Realms because it's a Star Trek parody, and that's why, because it's kind of the same universe. All of the Abrams movies since 2009 have all been kind of in the Cillian Realms universe. I haven't tackled Discovery, and I haven't tackled the Abrams Kirk stuff because that was a little too much. But I've tackled Lower Decks and Prodigy, and we're putting together currently the third and final Star Trek Legacy movie so far. Yes, it's a season finale, and putting that together, and that has some Tall backstory, Javon Tall backstory in it. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with them, and it'll come up on this channel and you'll watch it, and then you'll be like, oh, okay. Like and subscribe to the Calcat channel. The algorithm doesn't seem to recognize a lot of the views anymore. Well, it recognizes the views, but not the subscribers. So like and subscribe.